John and Tom stand tall, discussing corruption, answering the call. Osceola's whispers, the truth we unveil. With each podcast episode we set sail. Unsanctioned voices, we won't be ignored. Taking through lies, we strike a chord. Unsanctioned truth, we're here for the fight. John and Tom shining through the night. With every debate, we're raising the stakes, taking down villains for justice's sake. Politicians trembling, they know we're awake. With facts on our side, we're here to shake. From local elections to making it clear, together we rise, let's spread the fear. Shining the light, the darkness won't last. In Osceola's depths, we're breaking the cast. Unsanctioned truth, we're here for the fight. John and Tom shining through the night. With every debate, we're raising the stakes, taking down villains for justice's sake. Shining the light, the darkness won't last. In Osceola's depths, we're breaking the cast. Unsanctioned truth, we're here for the fight. John and Tom shining through the night. With every debate, we're raising the stakes, taking down villains for justice's sake. So tune in each week, don't miss the show. John and Tom will help you know.
You can get some.
In today's news, Anthony Pedicini sends out another fake mailer.
Pedicini sends text messages with misinformation.
Anthony Pedicini, sliding in the scene. Got his little paws on a political machine. Running shady deals with a race to the top. A gerbil in a suit, man, he just won't stop. With a twitch of his nose, he's cooking up schemes. While munching on seeds, he's living out dreams. In the pet store, he's shine, but he's playing it slick. A corrupted little rodent, what a clever trick. Squeaking through the halls, he's got a plan, you see. This furry little schemer, he's as sly as can be. Oh, Anthony Pedicini, you tiptoe on lies. In a world of big politics, your fur never dries. With your beady little eyes, you're making moves right. But we know, Gerbil King, you just ain't that bright.
Rumors swirl as Pedicini seen holding hands with ultra-conservative Kevin Van Ostenbridge.
Pedicini seen marching at Gay Pride Parade.
In the festival aisle, he should be on display. Instead, he's spinning webs like it's some kind of play. Wheeling deals, he's squeaking like a boss. Every time he spins, you already know the cost. But his antics catch up like a great comedy. The voters are hip, oh, they're savvy, you see. No more gerbil politics, they're ready to shout. Anthony, you're in too deep, there's no way out. He dreams of a mansion with a golden wheel, but this gerbil's got nothing left to conceal. Oh, Anthony Pedicini, you tiptoe on lies. In a world of big politics, your fur never dries. With your
cover the defamation lawsuit filed against Anthony Pedicini.
Pedicini texts Commissioner during meeting directing how to vote on controversial rezoning.
Oh, Anthony Peppercini, you tiptoe on lies. In a world of big politics, your fur never dries. With your beady little eyes, you're making moves right. But we know, Gerbil King, you just ain't that bright. Oh, Anthony Peppercini, you tiptoe on lies. In a world of big politics, your fur never dries. With your beady little eyes, you're making moves right. But we know, Gerbil King, you just ain't that bright.
Manatee County. This has nothing to do with Democrats or Republicans. This has to do with corrupt developers weaponizing our government for their own personal gain with no regard for the quality of life of our...
Welcome to Unsanctioned.
All right. And so the first item on our agenda is a proclamation denouncing St. Cloud's Sundown town, past reputation, and affirming St. Cloud's acceptance of all residents. This proclamation was sponsored by Councilmember Paul. And would you like to make a motion for the adoption of this proclamation?
Yes.
All right, we have a motion from Councilmember Paul. Second. We have a second from Councilmember Gilbert. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Deputy Mayor Fletcher.
Aye.
Councilmember Paul.
Aye.
Councilmember Urban.
Aye.
Councilmember Gilbert.
Aye.
And Mayor Robertson.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
And Councilmember Paul, would you like to present this proclamation?
Greetings, everyone. The City of St. Cloud, Florida proclamation. The purpose of this proclamation is to courageously recognize St. Cloud's historical reputation as a sundown town and move forward together in harmony and unity. This proclamation was requested by the NAACP, Osceola County Branch 5121, and fully supported by Councilmember Paul.
All right, we'll stop right there, John, and we're going to definitely talk about this. We're going to talk about this in the later segments of the show. Well, how about that?
But it's nice to see that the NAACP is writing the policies for the city of St. Cloud. That's sweet.
Yeah, very strange, but I do love that little blue furry character. Catchy little song there, nice little number from the blue furry character, but he's in a lot of hot water, and we're going to talk about that too tonight.
Well, we have to wait to see whether he's in hot water. There's a defamation lawsuit going on between Anthony Pedicini and the gentleman who's behind that character and that music video. And here's the thing. I think that if you're involved in politics, you've heard the name Anthony Pedicini.
Yeah.
And it is like Jason, in a horror movie. He's Chucky in the horror movie. He's Freddy. We have
our own Osceola County Freddy too, so
Yeah. Yeah. And these essentially, what we're discovering is that people are coming out against Anthony Pedicini throughout the state of Florida, right? Like, one of the reasons that you sue for defamation is that you have a reputation to protect.
Yeah.
And when it comes to Anthony Pedicini, I'm no lawyer, but if I were the defense of the person who's behind those videos, I would say this person has a horrendous reputation. So I'm not causing him any damage. The damage has been created by himself, by the dastardly way that he does politics. So you can't, if there's no reputation to begin with, then how can you sue me for damaging your reputation?
Right.
That would be, I think, that a good defense for him. Anthony Pedicini he represents the worst, and he is what everybody hates about politics. He's the faceless, corrupt guy. You heard in that video that they're basically reading headlines in that music video, just grotesque. But we're going to talk a little bit more about Pedicini a little bit later. We just wanted to, give you some background, those two videos. And let's do our prayer and let's get down to business.
All right.
Thank you for, first of all, thank you for joining us for another episode of Unsanctioned Florida. We have so much going on. We were prepping as quickly as possible. So we just wanted to get to the show as quickly and get to all this news. There's all kinds of important things. Right now, the Republican Party of Florida is meeting here in Central Florida, and we have a lot to talk about regarding that. And we have advisories basically for Republicans throughout the state and for all you people who are visiting Central Florida from your respective counties to vote for chairman of the Republican Party. So before we do that, let's pray for God's good graces that people vote with their conscience. Lord, every week we come and we show you appreciation, and we thank you for all the blessings that you bestow upon my family and Tom's families and our state and our country. We pray that we continue to receive these blessings, and we know that the biggest blessing is that we have you in our lives, but we can't have you in our lives and at the same time in the real world down here with humans, we treat them poorly, we lie, we cheat, we steal for the sake of power. We know that those two things are at odds. And politicians have a very difficult line to walk between being a good person and being people of the world who take advantage of these things and advantage of their neighbors in order to please themselves and enrich themselves. So we pray right now that this meeting that RPOF is having is inspired by you, that you keep those people not just sane, not just humble, but that you keep them aware of your presence and that you're watching over, and that you are indeed involved in our government, and they should serve you as much as they serve the citizens of Florida. Yeah, in your son's name, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
All right, let's get to it, Tom.
Off.
We got a lot of news to go on tonight.
Absolutely. All right, we're going to cover the state. We're going to start out, John, with some of our friends, J6ers, hoping for a pardon, John. They are hoping for a pardon from President Trump, and we're hoping they get that pardon. But this local story, this is actually a local story from our local NBC affiliate, and I'm ashamed of the reporting in this video. You're going to see it yourself, the bias that's shown in this video.
It's always bad, right?
Yeah, watch this.
Have faced federal charges for their involvement in the deadly riot at the Capitol 4 years ago.
Yeah, 5 people died and people assaulted more than 140 police officers. As West 2's Justin Shecker explains, the defendants could have their convictions erased when President-elect Trump returns to the White House.
In the 4 years since the mob of pro-Trump supporters disrupted the certification of the 2020 presidential election, the U.S. Department of Justice has charged 1,583 people nationwide for their roles in the January 6th Capitol riot. According to the DOJ, nearly 1,100 cases have been adjudicated, and judges sentenced 667 of the defendants to some time in prison.
I just think that there's a difference between, the people who were engaging in violent acts and the people who were damaging the building and how they should have been treated versus other people who just got caught up in the frenzy.
The DOJ January 6 case tracker shows 97 arrests have been made in Florida. 6 were in Orlando. Attorney Patrick LeDuc represented Paul Hodgkins, the Tampa man seen waving a Trump 2020 flag in the Senate chamber.
He simply committed a trespass. Was it wrong? Yes. Did it deserve him going to prison for 8 months? I mean, I guess reasonable minds can differ.
2 of the longer prison sentences from the DOJ's investigation have been handed down to Central Florida men with ties to far-right groups that stormed the Capitol. Oath Keeper leader Kelly Meggs from Marion County is serving 12 years, and Proud Boys organizer Joseph Biggs from Ormond Beach received a 17-year sentence.
Ridiculous.
Both were convicted of seditious conspiracy. Biggs' attorney Norm Pattis recently told West 2 News his client is hoping to receive a full pardon after President-elect Trump takes office in 2 weeks.
It was a riot gone bad. There was no attempt to overthrow the government. It was awkward, it was inconvenient, and it was sometimes violent. But it shouldn't cost anybody decades behind bars.
While many of the January 6 defendants are waiting for word on a potential presidential pardon, some of them have yet to even receive their punishments. Former Windermere police officer Kevin Tuck and his son, former Apopka police officer Nathaniel Tuck, are both scheduled to be sentenced by a federal judge in Washington, D.C. in 2 days. Covering Orange County at the federal courthouse, I'm Justin Sheck.
Who cares? You know, just the complete bias right from the get-go with this video. It makes me sick, John. It's really terrible reporting there. But what do you think?
This goes beyond terrible. This is beyond terrible. This is an injustice of the worst proportions. I mean, imagine 70. Listen, if it had been Antifa, none of them would have been prosecuted.
That's right.
So how are we prosecuting these people and somebody going to jail for their associations? I mean, none of this is legal. None of this is good legal practice. Imagine going to jail for your association. Let's say we had earlier on the show, right? Jennifer Paul. So Jennifer Paul gets pulled over, gets a speeding ticket, right? Ends up getting arrested because she's also a member of the NAACP. That's the same thing. It's the same thing. These people were caught trespassing, but because they were members of a far-right group, according to the media, I don't know what groups, I don't remember what groups that they were members of, but let's say because they're a member of the far-right group, then they go to jail for 17 years for a different charge than what they actually committed. No one was there that was like, nobody was there trying to betray their country. You know, so it doesn't make it. We have people in office right now, people who have sworn an oath to the country, who have very obviously betrayed the United States. They're not being charged at all. But these people who are trespassing are spending decades in jail or years in jail or even 8 months. If you wouldn't get 8 months for trespassing at Walmart, why would you get jail more than, let's say, 8 months for trespassing on government property that we own as citizens? It makes it's a huge injustice, and it never happened. Didn't happen with Black Lives Matter. It didn't happen with Antifa, but here we are. It's Trump supporters going to jail, and I've seen this in Venezuela. I mean, it's happening in Venezuela right now, and it happens in Nicaragua. So I mean, great. Joe Biden has basically turned into a Latin American dictator.
You know, they said that the one guy was a member of the Oath Keepers. And he got 17 years. I think that was the one. But anyway, this is ridiculous completely. The way they said that it was a deadly riot, it was not deadly at all. One person died, and it had nothing to do with the people on the ground that were there protesting that election. Channel 2 should be ashamed of themselves.
And this doesn't take into account the fact that... Yeah, you're right. You're right. Yeah. But this doesn't take into effect the fact that they were... you know, they were trapped. You know, this is entrapment. Yeah. They were all let in. Now we know that there were dozens of, federal law enforcement there. And they were, what part did they play? Dozens were basically encouraging them to come. And so if they're being encouraged to enter the building, that's entrapment. They should all be thrown out. All of these cases should be thrown out.
We've actually shown videos of them opening doors and opening things for people to come in. It's being really ridiculous. Yep. But yes, absolutely. Really terrible. Shame on Channel 2, our local NBC affiliate, for shoddy reporting. They definitely need better lighting and a better makeup artist. Those people look like they were ghouls in a horror movie.
We could all use that. We could all.
Yeah, well, you know. Yeah, my lighting is usually
you know
too
what?
bright.
Here's the thing. I mean, here's the thing. It's one thing to have bad lighting. It's a whole other universe to report with bias. Yeah. That is a crime against intellect, and they are certainly guilty of it.
Yeah, they sure are. Yeah, they sure are. Well, a bright spot. We actually have Matt Gaetz considering running for governor of Florida, but also Jason Pizzo. And we're gonna, if you've never heard of that name before, we're gonna educate you on who this person is. But anyway, yeah, these two are actually talking about running for governor, and we have the story right here.
Politics, after all.
That's right. Gaetz spoke about his potential future endeavor on his show yesterday. Let's listen. But it is true. Yesterday, the Tampa Bay Times texted me asking if I was considering running for governor of Florida. And of course I am. I am the true Florida man, after all. There are early smoke signals that if a return to Tallahassee is in God's plan for my family, lots of Florida Republicans would be pretty excited.
Gaetz told the Tampa Bay Times in an interview published yesterday that his primary concern was the insurance crisis. I have a compelling vision for the state. I understand how to fix the insurance problem, and it's not to hand the keys to the state over to the insurance industry. If I run, I would be the most pro-consumer candidate on the Republican side.
I believe that. I believe that.
I believe that 100%. Listen, Matt Gaetz is Florida man, right? There's no question. He loves the state of Florida. Matt Gaetz loves Matt Gaetz. I think we all know that, right?
Yeah.
And if that's a crime, okay, fine. Then Matt Gaetz is guilty. But Matt Gaetz also loves Florida. This is what we love about Trump. Trump loves Trump, right? So do I. I think he's hilarious. He's the greatest comedian in 2025 already. But Trump also loves the United States. That's why my dad at 80 years old loved him. You know, that's why I love him, because we know that Trump loves this country. Everybody knows he loves. There's no question about his allegiances to this country. And I think that would make Matt Gaetz a very compelling. He basically follows the same model. He loves the state. Is he a perfect man? Absolutely not. But who is, cast the first stone.
Perfect man.
Yeah, certainly. And probably they wouldn't want the job,
no.
Right? There has to be some level of imperfection in you in order for you to take on this kind of thing. And bad judgment at the very least.
No.
But at the end of the day, he's a great pick. I think he's a super conservative guy. He's aligned with Trump. And at the end of the day, I think that the one good thing about him and DeSantis is that they could care less what the media tries to compel them to do, right?
No.
They don't care that the leftists are trying to push them in a certain direction. I think that Matt Gaetz cares in terms of his ego, but he certainly doesn't care in terms of his performance. He's going to do what he wants to do. And Ron DeSantis, I don't think cares so much about his ego. He cares about his career, right? He cares about the outcome of his decisions in terms of his career, his political career. That's my impression. I don't know that. I don't have any insider information for that. So he also, not only is he a good with Trump, he's also good with DeSantis. He carries some of both of their characteristics to the table. And I think he's a very formidable opponent. Of course, he's not the only guy running.
No,
There's
not.
another good guy running besides the one that you mentioned.
Well,
right?
yeah, we're going to get to him too. But yes, another likely candidate is on the Democrat side is Senator Jason Pizzo, who's quickly gained popularity as a possible candidate. Democrats support the state senator while Republicans warn of the threat his candidacy could pose in the gubernatorial election. Pizzo actually tweeted this the other day, John, in response to the news that Matt Gaetz might run. He reposted it, and he said, "I will kick his ass," which I find very hard to believe since nobody knows who Jason Pizzo is. Besides the fact that he might be the only, he might be the only Democrat that's running against Matt Gaetz or running on the Democrat side. But like you said, also Florida Representative Byron Donalds also has hinted that he would be launching a governor bid. Actually, Donalds will likely announce his candidacy after the 2025 legislative session. That's what the Floridian reported. And we also know that Byron Donalds just brought President-elect Donald Trump's most prominent pollster onto his campaign team. Naples Republican has signed Fabrizio Lee and Associates. That's the research company headed by Tony Fabrizio, one of the nation's leading Republican pollsters and strategists. Fabrizio most notably served as Trump's pollster in his successful 2016 campaign and more recently conducted polling for the pro-Trump super PAC, MAGA Incorporated. That's a pretty strong move from Byron Donalds, a pretty good indicator that he's going to throw his hat in this race, John.
Yeah. So I wish that they would have a conversation, a cup of coffee, and they would come to a consensus on who's going to run as the MAGA. Obviously, Donalds is going to run as MAGA. Gaetz is going to run as MAGA. All the other Republicans are going to lose, badly. And then you have Jason Pizzo, but Jason Pizzo is not going to be the only Democrat who wins. Jason Pizzo is, he's Broward County is his Senate seat. It has a very tiny piece of Miami-Dade, just it's a tiny, practically inconsequential piece of it. And then it's mostly Broward on the beach.
Right.
And he's just not going to happen. All those people that would even support him in his hometown voted for Trump this time, right? Like we saw South Florida go towards Trump right now.
Yeah.
So he's got no chance. Like this is like one of those things where let me run, I'm going to run, make a name for myself and whatever. But I think that even Nikki Fried would have a better chance than Pizzo would.
Yeah, absolutely. She definitely has the name recognition that he doesn't,
Yeah, and she got destroyed. I mean, she got absolutely obliterated in the primary.
Yes, by Charlie Crist, the biggest flip-flopper the state of Florida has ever known.
So, I mean, and then he got absolutely destroyed.
Yeah.
So, and you have to remember, Nikki Fried, the one thing that they have in common that Pizzo doesn't have in his favor is that Pizzo has, several 100,000 people in his district, but Nikki Fried represented the entire state as Commissioner of Agriculture, and Chris was a governor, and they both got destroyed.
And that's what would happen to any Democrat who runs this time around, too. They'll get destroyed, too. Yeah. It won't matter,
Yeah. Jason Pizzo is from Sunny Isles Beach. So if you don't even know where Sunny Isles Beach is, I mean, come on. I'm sure it's a beautiful place.
Yeah,
it would probably be even more beautiful with Jason Pizzo there.
Yeah, just let him stay there. By the way, he kind of looks like Gavin Newsom.
That's gonna be the worst. We gotta check the fire departments in his area, make sure that they got water.
All right, so yes, John, we talked about that blue furry character, and now there's a lawsuit that says that furry blue online animated character helped sway the Manatee County election. I don't know about that. I mean, I've seen quite a few videos with this blue character, but I don't know if he actually swayed the electorate. High-powered Republican political consultant Anthony Pedicini and former Manatee County Commissioner Kevin Van Ostenbridge are suing the creators of the furry blue animated character used to lambast many local politicians in a series of videos published on YouTube during the 2024 elections, as well as the Bradenton Times online publication for promoting the content. Van Ostenbridge and Pedicini claim that content produced by the creators of the politically active animated figure called Kevin Kyle Kaczynski Van Oswald the 17th used their names and animated caricatures in videos illegally to promote merchandise sales during the run-up to the 2024 election. They also claim that the Bradenton Times, whose publisher is former Manatee County Commissioner Joe McClash, promoted the Von Oswald videos as part of a scheme against them. It is not the only lawsuit that Van Ostenbridge filed during the 2024 election. He is also suing another former Manatee County Commissioner, Elizabeth Benak, and her political action committee Take Back Manatee with claims of defamation over political mailers campaigning against him. Now, the funny thing about this, John, this is what Anthony Pedicini is known for, is political mailers sent out against one campaign's opponents. So now you have Van Ostenbridge suing another commissioner over attack mailers. Obviously, this guy has a very thin skin, has a problem with a blue furry character and a woman that sent out campaign mailers against him. It's absolutely ridiculous. Is this what it's come to, John?
Well, I think that, he couldn't take a taste of his own medicine, right? These guys, they lost and they don't want to continue losing. So, I mean, that's what they're scared of, is that it's going to continue. How long is it going to continue? And so they're trying to bully whoever the producer of these videos are, and prevent another loss, because he got basically his butt handed to him. And listen, Pedicini now has a reputation. Before, he had a reputation for being a jerk and for winning races. in this last election cycles, last several, he lost a lot of races. He won some and he lost some. So he's no longer like a golden boy in terms of winning. Now he's just a jerk who sometimes wins, sometimes loses. And he attacks and ruins more Republicans than anything else. He's also a gay LGBTQ activist, right? And so at least we see him in these parades. I don't know what that means, right? So
the rumor is, John, is that he is a gay man himself. Now, I don't know that for certain, but that is, excuse me, something I read. I'm still
fine. So he's gay, no big deal, right? That doesn't. It's meaningless. But that he's an LGBTQ activist. Now you're talking about something that goes against the conservative values of the party in terms of your sexual identity not being the driver of your politics, right? Not being we don't vote based on those things. We vote based on other values, not on your identity, right? We don't believe in identity politics. But he clearly has an agenda. When you march in a LGBTQ parade, all of a sudden that says something completely different, right? So, I mean, and I don't know. These are just, these are just topics of discussion. The point is, can you trust Anthony Pedicini? You can't trust him to win anymore. You certainly can't trust him to be an honest person, at least in my experience, right? He obviously, we have a ton of experience in Osceola County with him sending mailers, and he's lied in all of these mailers, right? And so I just, I mean, I don't know. I don't think it's going to be successful. It was clever, the fact that they sued for using their likeness as opposed to defamation specifically, because they probably know that he had a horrendous reputation and that, he couldn't sue to preserve a reputation that was already seen as manure.
Yeah, absolutely. So, the blue character videos, they were very clever because they changed the names just enough so they weren't actually naming these people. But there was, they would include newspaper reports or news video reports and put that out there with the actual name, so you knew who they were talking about.
I don't think they're protected by switching the name a little bit. I think that I think that the way that the changing the name protects them is that now all of a sudden, is this satire? Is it just a joke? Or now he's suing for satire? And that's why they didn't sue for defamation. So I was incorrect in the beginning when I said defamation. It wasn't really defamation. It's for using their likeness. So, and for merchandising.
Well, the second one, you were right, John. They are suing that county commissioner for defamation, but the blue character, they're not. They're suing for the likeness and the other things. And yes, I don't know. I read that he might be a gay man, and that doesn't really matter whether he's gay or not. It doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. But if he is participating in indoctrination camps, and I would say that because that's what I consider some of these pride events are indoctrination camps, because they have things there that are inappropriate for children.
In front of children.
Yep. Inappropriate for children.
Absolutely.
So, this guy.
Absolutely.
This guy is well known throughout Florida for doing the things he does. His reputation precedes him, and now more and more people are becoming aware of him and what he does. He's not going to be the golden boy anymore, John, like you said, just for that reason. Yeah. The only people who ever employ him are the ones who have a lot of money and a lot of power. So establishment politicians.
And the ones that are corrupt.
Yeah,
the ones that are corrupt, right?
They're the ones
now
who use
it's
this
important.
guy.
Now it's important. If you see Anthony Pedicini anywhere or his company anywhere on a politician's financial forms, that's a bad guy. You might as well vote against for that guy. If Anthony Pedicini is with him, he does not have a high, I guess he doesn't prioritize values highly, because he's a guy that is willing to deal with the worst kind, with the slimiest kind.
Yeah.
Right. So that he's probably slimy also. And that's what happens, right? You have a terrible used car dealership. They get a terrible reputation, a lawyer with a terrible reputation. And now Pedicini has the worst reputation for being amongst the communities that he has been involved in, not politicians. They love him because he'll do anything, right? He'll, probably literally and figuratively.
It's true.
As the gerbil song says.
Yeah. Well, we had talked about this on a prior show. I don't think it was the last show. It might have been the show before. But Mayor Donna Deegan up in Jacksonville and her hologram that she has in the airport there that speaks 7 languages and will tell a resident that's arriving at the airport anything they want to know about the city of Jacksonville. Well, there is pushback from the council members there on the hologram at the airport. And here's another look at this if you haven't seen it. That's it right there. Very large.
So did
size.
they vote for it or not? Right? Like
Right.
the council members vote for it or not? Because this absolutely, it's not even that big. It's like life size. That's it.
Yeah.
So millions of dollars for a life size. It's not, if it was like 3 stories high and you were like, wow, but no, it's something that you could even miss.
No. Well, the story is very interesting, John. You know, they're calling it the Holo-Donna. Some city council members are pushing back on it. You know, because it's greeting travelers at the Jacksonville International Airport, but that's not what it was originally intended for. During a finance committee meeting Tuesday, members questioned the cost of the hologram. They said that the system was supposed to be used as an interactive tool to educate the public about permitting issues when they come to government offices, not to promote the city at the airport.
Wow.
So they're using it in a way it was never intended to be used. She decided she wanted it to be something to promote herself at the airport when it was supposed to be something to, you know, teach residents about permitting issues and how to go about getting permits and stuff like that at the government office.
Yeah. Which I mean, it still wouldn't be a great cost. It's $5 million, right?
Yeah.
So for those $5 million, they could have hired 10 new permitting people, right? 20 new permitting people, you know, and they could have hired 3 people just to explain to you the permitting process, to walk your hands, hold your hand through the permitting process at the city hall. Yeah. So for that much money, $5 million, I mean, if you divide that by $100,000, that's a lot, right? That's a lot of people that you can add.
They should have a dedicated person there anyway that tells people how to go about these things. You know, I mean, the staff that's there should know how to show a resident how to go through the process. You shouldn't have to have a hologram that teaches you how to do it.
Well, it doesn't even teach you, right? It just guides you. Oh, if you need, go to this door over there. Go to the door over there. We're going to pay $5 million for a wayfinding sign?
Yeah.
I mean, come on. That's crazy. That's crazy.
Well, I'm glad that the council members are pushing back on her. As you know, and as we've talked about before, John, she is funded by the Khan family who own the Jacksonville Jaguars. You know, they're 100% behind her. Hopefully they're able to get rid of her eventually, but it's pretty liberal up there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was a tight race, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, we'll see if she can win again. This is an interesting story that we talked about a year ago on this show. This teen who made tire marks, he actually peeled out on a Pride crosswalk in Delray Beach, Florida. Well, he has entered into a guilty plea deal. He was sentenced to 12 months probation, 75 hours of community service per charge, and will have his license revoked for a year and must take an anger management course. Here's the video.
The fate of a Florida man who police say vandalized a Pride crosswalk in Delray Beach has been decided. Police say Dylan Brewer from Clearwater Beach is seen driving this truck you're looking at in video, doing several burnouts right there on the crosswalk. This happened back in February at Northeast 1st Street and Northeast 2nd Avenue. Brewer took a plea agreement to charges of criminal mischief and reckless driving in court today. He will serve 12 months probation along with a total of 150 hours of community service. Brewer's license will also be revoked for a year.
That's crazy.
That's a lot for some burnouts, man. I mean,
so if you were just if you were doing a burnout on a regular crosswalk, would that have happened? Would you have gotten that sentence?
I don't think so, John. I don't think so.
I doubt it. This is crazy. It's so many things. One of these things might have been like, okay, a year of probation. All right, you got caught. You took a plea deal. That's a tough judge, but okay, nonetheless. But a year of suspended license, a year of probation. I mean, the community service hours, okay. And I think that the community service hours is all anybody else would have gotten.
Yeah.
You know, maybe an anger management, and he's got to pay. You have to remember, when you're on probation, you got to pay all those fees that come associated with it. So it's very expensive. I mean, this is It's just a political justice. It's the worst. Political justice is all it is.
Absolutely. Good luck to this guy. God only knows how much money he's going to pay over time to the local government there.
It would have been. Here's the thing. I mean, you know what would have been just? It would have been just if he would have been forced to repaint it.
Yep.
That would have been just, right? Okay, give him 3 months of probation, make him take anger management. There was no, what's the anger involved? You know, I mean, come on, give me a break. The class, what are they, is there some kind of kickback going to people for sending them to that class?
Well, they probably categorized it as a hate crime.
Yeah, BS. I mean, okay, it doesn't matter. That's free speech, right? I mean, I'm tired of this like hate crime language. Okay, like it's a difference. Like if I'm Hispanic and then I get like shot in the street because I'm Hispanic, okay, hate crime. If you want to elevate the charges, all right, fine. But this guy did a burnout on a sidewalk. It's a hate crime against whom? There's nobody involved except for him, right? There was nobody that was suffering. So the government is suffering a hate crime. I'm guilty of hate crimes against the government. You know, I hate the government more than that kid does. I guarantee you. So how can he be charged with a hate crime or some kind of, elevation tactic to the crime because he did something he didn't like? It's government property. He ruined it. Make him pay for it, right? Restitution. Have him go out there and repaint that gay pride sign, right? That'll be humiliating for him. That's character building and a lesson for a young man, right? To be careful. That's not yours. Leave it alone. Don't touch it. The only factor that should elevate this from any normal situation is that you might be interfering with somebody else's freedom of speech.
Right.
But this property didn't belong to a person. It belonged to the government. Right? So if it was on my house and I have a big gay pride flag on my house and you come and do a burnout, or on my driveway and you come and do a burnout on my driveway, that's different. Right? But this is a piece of street. How many people spit gum on the street?
Yeah.
Right? How many people go and spray? If Antifa comes and they spray paint a wall, do they get the same kind of hefty charges? No, they let him go. George Soros comes, gives him a kiss on the cheek and sends him on his way. So how is that fair? You know, it's not just, you can't have a system that is only has two purposes. One, for the cameras, and two, your own personal ideology as a judge or as a county, whatever.
Well, John, moving on. The mainstream media here in Florida is 100% pushing for a complete total win for Evan Power in his race to be elected as the RPOF chairman. This puff piece was written and it's going around. It's being republished and reposted.
People are pissed about it, though.
Yeah.
People are pissed about it.
You know, this is it. How Evan Power's grassroots strategy drives GOP success in Florida. This is ridiculous. We're going to go through a couple of things this story has to say real quick. Here he is. That is the face of a fighter, John, right there. That is a fighter. Evan Power
Fighter must have a different word for you. That's the face of somebody who eats from a trough.
He looks like he's going to say that's all, folks. But anyway, Evan Power logged more than 332,000 miles over 7 years, driving across the state before becoming the chair of the Republican Party of Florida.
Whatever. I don't even want to hear their puff piece.
He's expected to be easily reelected to this post on Saturday, January 11th. And take down this address, everyone, at the Rosen Plaza Hotel in Orlando, Saturday, January 11th. We all know the story. He was replaced by Christian Ziegler, who had some sexual misconduct, and we're not going to call them allegations. They were allegations as far as why he got arrested, but we know that there was other things going on there. But anyway,
they personal choices that they made. But here's the thing, okay? Ziegler's no different from anybody else in the party, is what I'm learning.
Yes.
Okay, like this guy is the same thing. You know what's better? This guy, Evan Power, got caught with a DUI with a loaded gun, one in the chamber in his car. DUI. What's worse? A consensual sexual act that involves your wife's knowledge, or being drunk driving and endangering somebody else in more than one way? Right? I mean, to me, what this guy was charged with is worse than what Ziegler was accused of. Not accused of in terms of the sexual, the battery, but in terms of what he acknowledged happened.
Well,
right?
yeah. What
And
we
then
all
we found out that he
what
was
happened.
So they removed him. Yeah, this was a coup, I think, against Chris Ziegler for a reason that I don't quite understand. And it might have possibly been that Ziegler was refusing to do this purge against the RPOF that Evan Power is doing.
Or you mean the FRA?
I think that the FRA. Well, no, that the Evan Power is doing. He's doing the purge against the FRA, right?
Yeah.
And so that might be the biggest thing. I think that's that's why this is happening. I'm just speculating.
Well, John, I believe you, and I'm going to tell you why, because I find it very hard to believe that those up in Tallahassee did not know that Christian Ziegler and his wife like to have threesomes, and I just find it very hard to believe that people up there did not know that about them. In politics, they're always looking for your weaknesses. They're always looking for the skeletons in your closet, and I'm sure they knew about this.
They absolutely knew. I mean, everybody knew, and that's why I'm saying this was a coup against Christian Ziegler. I think that Ziegler might have been closer to Trump than Evan Power was. And Evan Power is probably more aligned. I don't know. Evan Power is just a mercenary. It's not like he's an ideological guy. He's whatever. I mean, you can tell this guy has just been. He's got calluses on his knees from playing the political game. And, he was willing to just kill his friend. I don't think that there was a love lost between Evan Power and Christian Ziegler, and he took the opportunity. It's just a kind of a sad situation. But listen, let's talk about why Evan Power does not deserve this, right? Oh. Let's talk about why Evan Power's the worst Republican chair in recent history, right? Let's pull up all the headlines. Now, we know that there's a whole bunch of good headlines, but the Republicans are winning races in spite of the party, not because of the party, right? But these things are happening because of the party. Let's pull up these headlines. You just scroll them up one after another. Read that headline.
Yep. 7 Florida Democrats just voted against legislation to deport illegal alien sex offenders. Yes, you read that right.
Oh, I don't think that's one.
No, I don't know where that one came from. But anyway, here's one. This is not a good situation. Manatee County Republican Executive Committee temporarily shuts down.
So, yeah, Manatee County, they shut down their party because a MAGA America First contingent group within the RAC won the elections. So then what happened? They killed it. Yep. They killed the executive committee in Manatee County. Pull up another one. These are the things
DeSantis
that Evan
appoints
Powers
prosecutor to investigate Florida Keys Republican Party.
Disaster. Keep going. One after another. These are all the things that are happening under the weak leadership of Evan Power. Yeah, what is it? MAGA campaign. What is it?
Well, that last one was, let's see. MAGA campaign mailer faces backlash with claims it misleads. That's coming from the party.
And listen, this is something that's coming from the party. Exactly. So listen, our own party is sending mailers or knows or sanctioning. So when they say they're sending, they're not paying for it directly. They have PACs, right, that they're associated with, and all these dirty, slimy lobbyists, and because that's what he is, right? He works for Ramba Consulting and Pedicini. They all get together and they move money around so that nobody can see it, and they're sending these mailers. They're trying to win races and protect the establishment. And so that's what we see here. They're misleading their own party members so that they can get their preferences in, and their preferences are people who will continue the corruption that's in Tallahassee and throughout the United States. Keep pulling them up.
All right, here's another one. It's confusing people. Collier GOP warns of disinformation targeting Republican voters.
So there you go. Again, who's behind all this stuff, right? Oh. It's the party is allowing this confusion. It's not even Democrat versus Republican. Republicans float rule change after criminally charged members with executive committee seats. What is going on? What is going on in the Republican Party? Evan Power was saying that he deserves to have a full term. He does not. Florida GOP muzzles independent Republican groups. This is the war of the elephants right here. So this gentleman right there, Robert Lum, is suing the Republican Party for kicking him out without due process in a way that is completely against their bylaws. The same thing happened to hundreds of people throughout the state. He's not the only one. And there's going to be more lawsuits coming.
And
Keep
then
going,
we had
Tom.
this tweet, John, this tweet from our friend of the show, Anthony Sabatini. This tweet
So look,
here.
even in Lake County, yep.
Just found out that incompetent rhinos who took over leadership positions in the local Lake County Republican Party have just announced they are canceling the January meeting. The new chairman, former criminal Taylor Yarkowski, who beat his wife and then forced her to sign a non-disclosure agreement about it, is a dirtbag member of the David Jordan, Mark Jordan crew intent on reducing the local Republican Party. Now 25-plus new members will be blocked from swearing in, and the party will not be able to conduct any business for another 60 days. We have some bad fake Republicans in our midst. Time to clean house. These are Anthony Sabatini's words, not mine. I don't know these people. But if he's saying it, I'm buying it.
You're inclined to, right? You're inclined to believe it. So here's the thing. That is what's happening in counties throughout the state of Florida, whether the members know it or not. In Osceola County 2 years ago, we saw the vanguard, the point of the vanguard was there, right, in Osceola County, and they stole one of these elections. Then they stole the election here in December. Mark Cross and George Jackow stole the election. They kicked people out. They are purging people. And it had nothing to do with being a member of the FRA. They allowed FRA members to stay in the organization.
Right.
And then they kicked out people who were never associated with the FRA to begin with. So there was no due process. The chairman of the party here at that time was also the chairman of the grievance committee. He oversaw the process in which the people that he did not like were kicked out of the party. What does Evan Power do? He supports the guy who's doing it. These are crooked people. These are not the Republicans that we want in Tallahassee representing us. We don't want a lot of these people representing us at all in the least. They have no ethical background, no ethical standards. They're crooks. They're used car salesmen of the worst type. These are the people that make our country bad. And of course, is Evan Power going to be reelected? Probably. Because, he's got the control, right? And people are scared. They don't want to fight and whatever. But there's a protest against the Republicans. Real MAGA America First Republicans are having a protest tomorrow at 9 a.m. in front of the Rosen Center where they're having their meetings. So they're having a protest tomorrow against the chairman. When has that happened? When that's happening, you don't deserve to be reelected. Because if Evan Powers is, I deserve happening regardless of him, right? But then all these other things are happening that have not happened in the past. Why would you deserve a reelection?
Yeah. It makes no sense.
It's just it makes no sense at all. It's really disgusting. And if you're a Republican, I encourage you, 9 a.m. tomorrow at the Rosen Center on I Drive, there's going to be a protest against Evan Power. If you're a Republican, here's the thing. I challenge you to become involved. This is the time that you need to get involved and you need to go out there and speak out against this, because it's when we have the opportunity to stand up for our party, make our party better, because the Democrats and the Republicans have been the same. They've been a bunch of crooks. They've been a bunch of lobbyist-owned politicians, and we have a chance right now to make it a grassroots organization that is loyal to the president and loyal to the grassroots. That's the position that we're in right now, and we need to make that happen.
Show up tomorrow. There will be signs. There will be small snacks and water provided. We need to let these people know as they arrive to the meeting that Evan Power does not deserve to be put back in as RPOF chairman.
Absolutely.
All right. So before we go
See you tomorrow. And we'll be there covering it.
Yeah, absolutely. So before we move on to the Osceola County segment, we have this important message from our friend, a friend of the show, Michelle Posey.
Hi guys, Michelle Posey here. Listen, while Republicans across the country are celebrating Trump's mandate victory, the leadership of the Republican Party of Florida, under the direction of Chairman Evan Power and Executive Director Bill Helmick, are violating state statute in an attempt to purge the MAGA membership within the party. That's right, RPOF Chair Evan Power is violating Florida State Statute 103.081 by alienating those who hold dual membership in the REC and the Florida Republican Assembly. Whether it's deliberate or just a struggle with Evan to be able to have reading comprehension is something that I'll leave up to you, but here are the facts that you need to know. Evan Power is claiming the Florida Republican Assembly is not allowed to use the name Republican, and that those who hold membership with both organizations are somehow violating RPOF Rules 1A1 and 1A2. However, Florida Statute 103.081 clearly states in the second paragraph, last sentence, that organizations have been in existence and organized on statewide basis for more than 10 years are exempt from this rule. A simple search of the Florida Secretary of State records shows the FRA has been in existence in the state of Florida for a whopping 26 years consecutively. They were formed in 1998. By the way, that's 13 years before this statute was even written. So why is RPOF Chair Evan Power wasting party resources in litigation trying to drive a wedge within the RPOF? Why is he not being truthful to state committee men and women across the state? And why is Evan Power alienating one of the strongest allies to the RPOF, the Florida Republican Assembly? Contact your local state committee man and woman, along with your county REC chair, and demand that on January 11th, they vote down Rule 1A2 and demand that Chair Evan Power and Executive Director Bill Helmick be removed and replaced. We deserve a strong party here in the free state of Florida, because united, we win. This is Michelle with the Holo Alliance. I'll see you soon.
Come on, guys.
Boy, that ghost at the top, he looks like he likes
There
what he
you go.
sees, you know. But yes, what Michelle is saying is exactly right. Evan Power's got to go. Bill Helmick has got to go. It's ridiculous what's going on right now. United, we win. Divided, we will lose, and we will lose to the Democrats. I guarantee it.
At least in local elections, and
Yeah.
which is what's happened,
Yeah.
right? We won the federal elections. We lost local elections, and that was by design. These guys lost it on purpose. They threw the game. Listen, the Chicago White Sox were, the team that threw the World Series, were banned forever. And that's exactly what we should do with Evan Power. We should ban him and any of his co-conspirators from the Republican Party forever, and have a Republican Party that actually has honor and integrity.
Yeah, and if you want to look at anything, Evan Power came in the third quarter, basically, to replace Christian Ziegler. And they talk about the RPOF successes. The success came because of President Trump and Trump's name being on the ballot this election cycle. You can go back to 2022. Look at how many Republicans won in 2022 across the state. It was all because of President Trump. It had nothing to do with Evan Power. It had nothing to do with the RPOF. They barely even pushed President Trump here locally or across the state. So,
I mean, right now, that was a red wave, and they essentially put up barriers to prevent local Republicans from winning races, except for the establishment ones that they picked and anointed.
There was no red wave here in Osceola County. There was no red wave here. Not at all.
For Trump, there was.
Yeah, for Trump,
right? I mean,
for Rick Scott, but anybody else down the ballot, forget it.
Yeah.
All right, so John, first up, incredible story. Osceola County Sheriff Marcos Lopez has been placed into the Brady System, according to State Attorney Andrew Bain, and here's the story.
Marcos Lopez has been added to Florida's Brady list. That's the list of law enforcement officers who, according to the state, have either lied, been convicted of crimes, or have some issue with credibility. The state attorney's office says it all stems from when Marcos Lopez posted a photo of a teenager, Madeline Soto's remains on Instagram. That photo was quickly removed. He accepted a plea deal following that investigation last month and has been ordered to pay a $250 fine. The state attorney's office said in a statement this afternoon, quote, "In this instance, the sheriff's public statements, particularly regarding the release of a confidential and sensitive photograph, raise concerns about consistency and truthfulness. As a witness in an ongoing case, inclusion in the Brady System ensures transparency and allows defense counsel and the courts to evaluate the admissibility and relevance of this information," end quote. Sheriff Lopez has not yet commented on this. We are closely following this breaking news and will provide you updates as we learn more. You can read the entire notice from the state attorney's office on our website, WFTV.
All right, but anyway, when this story went out, we did not have Sheriff Lopez's response, but he did issue a statement late Thursday afternoon. He said he felt it was important to address this matter personally. And this is what he had to say, in quotes: "This was a political gimmick by Andrew Bain, who lost an election. In between the time that Bain sent his initial letter about his concerns and the time he added me to the Brady list, there were requests for me to endorse Bain. I did not endorse him. I was subsequently added to the Brady list. I think his decisions were personal and political. I'm sad that Andrew Bain put politics before people. I did not lie, and I will always stay focused on what really matters: fighting crime and protecting the community." All right, John, what do you think about this?
I mean, those are rough statements in both directions. It's a real slap in the face to be placed on the Brady list if you're a law enforcement. I mean, it's not just embarrassing; it's killer to your reputation. And I'm not so sure that this wouldn't be something that was orchestrated at a higher level, also, right? Because you never know. Like they may, let's say, like Lopez has kind of telegraphed that he's not running again. He's vested. He wanted to do his couple of terms and then get out and whatever, and then somebody else is going to run. And now I can see that Fred Hawkins, you know, people aligned with him, with that whole faction, that Fred Hawkins faction, the Mike Horner faction, the county commission, they're already working an angle to make it hard for Marcos Lopez to be reelected if he were to choose to run again. And they're going to pick their own little dog, lapdog, to run instead. That's a possibility. That's always a possibility, right? Things that we don't see, just like these drones that we reported on Unsanctioned America, right, is American and Chinese technology that we have not seen.
Yeah.
Politics is the same thing. Things are happening behind the scenes in advance of elections, right? Negotiations are happening in advance of elections. And so that might be something, that might have something to do with it. It's never what it seems in politics. That's one thing I've learned. So
I find it kind of strange what happened here. I don't know whether or not who's right and wrong in this situation. I know the Andrew Bain election and everything that surrounded it was kind of strange. He ran as an independent. He was hanging around with Republicans and in Republican circles. Super nice guy. And I can say the same for Sheriff Lopez. He's a super nice guy. Just sad that we're seeing Sheriff Lopez go into the Brady system. But I think a lot of this has to do with his own errors there. But
I mean, certainly that he bears responsibility for the situations. Here's the thing: as a politician, you never allow, believe me, before he's law enforcement, he's a politician, right? And you never allow yourself to have, you never place your destiny in the hands of someone else as a politician. At least it's not good practice to do that, because that's how you get hemmed up. And so he bears responsibility, certainly, for that whole situation. I just like to know the truth about why things happen. The whole thing with Andrew Bain, I think you're 100% right. Andrew Bain's a super nice guy. I think he was a great state attorney. It's going to be sad. I hope that they remove Monique Worrell again. They've already been talking that might happen, right? Yeah. We've reported on the show that they're already saying that, they're hinting at removing her from office again. And I mean, I'm not going to be sad about that. And then Andrew Bain would come in. But I don't like the way that election happened. The way that election happened also robbed Bain of credibility and the governor of credibility and the Republican Party of credibility. They basically, they asked the guy to get out. They promised him something else. The guy said no. So then they had the other guy endorsed with the intention, supposedly, with the intention that he would drop out of the race as a ghost candidate. So everyone involved in that, hypothetically, should have been prosecuted for for election interference, right? So I mean, we can't be. This is why I'm always telling the Republicans, listen, there's no better time than right now. This is the best opportunity that we have ever had as Americans to become the party of the moral high ground right now, because Democrats are the opposite, right? The Democrats are literally teaming up with Team Satan. There's no better time for us to go to the moral high ground. We still win because they're so far to the left. They're so far with Satan over there. And I'm talking about literally, right? They came and they were fighting over the chaplain. It was they were supporting the satanic temple during the debate of the chaplains. So we have no better opportunity than to become the party of the high moral standard. And instead, we have people like Evan Power who are splitting the party, getting rid of the Judeo-Christian faction of the party, people who put Christ first as opposed to politics, and people who want the right thing as opposed to enrich themselves. And it's just a damn shame, that we're losing this opportunity. That instead, we're going to play this dirty political game instead of make our country great.
Truly is, John. All right, so moving on from there, the legislative update, the legislative meeting where all the legislators come before the people and everyone begs for what they want happened, John. And those priorities were offered up. Here's a picture you might like. And I thought originally this guy could have been our friend there, but you said it wasn't him.
No, it's not. No, that is Tim Weishire, Katrina Scarborough. The empty suit there is somebody who's never had a thought. Right now, it looks like she's having, I don't know what's going on in that brain, but I know it's not a thought. And then the most crooked supervisor of elections in the state of Florida, Mary Jane Arrington. That's a sad picture is what it is. Just with the two on the right, the two on the left, they're okay. I can say something about anybody. Anybody can say anything about me, but the two on the right are clearly corrupt and feckless, worthless.
Yeah, we know that for sure. This year, the 5-person delegation, 4 state representatives and a state senator, includes 3 newcomers and 1 member in a new role. State Representative Erica Booth, Lawrence Spencer, and No Way Jose Alvarez were elected in November, and Kristen Arrington moved to state representative. Well, you know about that. And then St. Cloud Representative Paula Stark chaired the meeting. With an active hurricane season that put Osceola County on some sort of alert 3 times for hurricanes Debbie, Helene, and Milton, and the flooding from 2022's Ian still fresh in the minds of officials, stormwater projects were a popular topic of conversation. St. Cloud Mayor Chris Robertson requested state funding for new stormwater ponds at Hopkins Park as part of the city's $10 million reinvestment and a new damming system for East Lake Tahoe to replace temporary earthen dams. Kissimmee City Manager Mike Steigerwald asked that upgrades to the city's drainage system, one built in the 1970s and growing inadequate for the expanding community, be a legislative priority. Osceola County noted its grant proposals for improvements in BVL and requesting matching funds. In another water-related request, Osceola County Chief of Staff Beth Knight asked that the state funding Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation's invasive plant program to clean up West Lake Tahoe of vegetation be part of the upcoming budget, along with the second year of the Army Corps of Engineers study on water quality in the lake, Shingle Creek, and the Kissimmee River. Knight said the county has already funded a 50% match for it. Among the other government asks for the legislator, St. Cloud requested a new fire rescue boat to replace St. Cloud's aging water rescue unit. And that's about it there.
Yeah, I mean, same stuff as always. Nothing. But here's the thing: they're coming to ask for more money for NEOcity.
Yeah.
I mean, that's essentially what it is. So there's traffic all over the county, but they're focused on NEOcity. It's just that this is a disaster. And Darren Soto will play along with it because he's desperate to stay in office. He doesn't. This is a guy who's holding on with the skin of his teeth. And there's going to be a whole bunch of people running for that seat. That's going to be a very interesting congressional race on the Republican side.
Yeah, it's already kind of lining out, and we already have some names out there. Going to be interesting, that's for sure. All right, John. So
there's at least 4 people interested in running for that race already, and that is going to be a very interesting race.
Can you name names, or is that something we got?
I guarantee you, there's going to be 5 people. No, I think that we can. So I think Jose Castillo is planning on running again. Jose Castillo, our friend of the show. Thomas Chalifo, good guy. Colonel Thomas Chalifo is running again. Marcus Carter, who ran as an independent, he's running as a Republican. And then Jose Martinez, who, believe me, I would not at all even consider him. He gave the Senate seat away to the Democrats, and he gives up halfway through every race he's ever been involved in. That's just a worthless, absolute worthless pick, a waste of everyone's time and money. It's just an ego project for him. So those are at least 4 right now, and there's going to be more, I'm sure.
Marcus Carter has now changed to the Republican Party?
Yes. Yeah.
All right. Well, moving on, John. This story we talked about earlier. Or no, we had the video earlier in the show about this, and this was St. Cloud denouncing its past as a sundown town. Now, we played a little bit from the meeting where they voted on this proclamation, and Jennifer Paul came up there and started to speak. Now, Channel 6 went a different route. They decided to try and educate you on what a sundown town is. So here is that video.
Not safe for Black people after dark. Tonight at its city council meetings, St. Cloud will discuss its infamous past and denounce it. News 6's Stephanie Rodriguez has the story.
In 1909, the city of St. Cloud began as a retirement community for Civil War Union veterans. While the people who settled it fought to end slavery, the country was decades away from equality. For much of its early history, St. Cloud was known as a sundown town.
Sundown towns are basically these areas in which there's either an unspoken rule or there's a law that prohibits Black people from being out after a certain time of night.
We sat down with Anthony Dixon, a public historian who has written books on the African diaspora in Florida and the state's Black Seminoles. He says sundown towns have their origins in slavery, when enslaved people were forbidden from doing many things. Eventually, America saw Jim Crow laws, which led to sundown towns that were around even after segregation ended.
Sundown towns didn't just cease to exist after the Civil Rights Movement either. They simply became the social norm. You knew that you could get all types of speeding tickets, get pulled over, and it can actually escalate from there.
Now, 116 years after it was founded, St. Cloud will be denouncing its past reputation as a sundown town with a proclamation on Thursday, one that also affirms its acceptance of all residents.
Here we are in 2025. Why would it be important for a city to denounce that reputation?
Well, it's a part of progress, right? For cities to come out now and acknowledge the past, but then make that effort in terms of moving forward shows that the country as itself is moving forward in terms of being more culturally diverse and more accepting.
While Dixon says St. Cloud publicly making this declaration is progress, he hopes it will lead to more acceptance in people's daily lives.
The theoretical part, is whether or not the ideologies are all gone, and how do we continue to get rid of those ideologies?
In St. Cloud, Stephanie Rodriguez.
All right, John, just for, just so you know who the guy was that was in that video, he is Professor Anthony E. Dixon. He is president of Archival and Historical Research at Florida A&M University. So the thing is, I am embarrassed that we are talking about this in 2025 because I grew up in St. Cloud, as did many people, including 3 out of 5, or actually 4 out of 5 on that city council, there has not been any sign or indication that St. Cloud is a sundown town my whole life. I mean, I can say that, yes, there were racists and racist groups on the outskirts of St. Cloud, towards the manor, towards Holo-Donna, and the really wooded areas, the unkept areas, but there's never been any indication of a racism problem, a sundown town type attitude in St. Cloud, at least while I was growing
Well, that's
up.
not exactly true, Tom. That's not exactly true, because there was a racist incident that did happen in St. Cloud just a few years ago.
Oh, yeah, but that was not what they're talking about.
That was Black Lives Matter.
Yeah, that was when
it was Black Lives Matter who came,
the child
and that was
congressman
the last
brought-
racist incident that happened.
The child congressman brought Black Lives Matter to St. Cloud to protest something they had no idea what happened about, and we had a motorcycle club chase them out of town. And he's never been back since.
There's one. Okay, so here's, I think that this is, you mentioned it many times, that you thought that this was political theater, and I tend to agree with you. Maybe not for Paul herself, but I learned tonight during prep that they made a commercial for her, right?
Yes.
So then, listen, if they're doing a commercial, then all of a sudden it is political theory. It is political theater. And the question, another thing is, now, although state statute overrules what's going on in the city, right, and whatever, and we know that sundown laws are not constitutional viable, so that may be a moot point. But they didn't remove the code or anything, or they didn't, did they? Or did they?
No.
There
There was no law on the books that they removed. No, nothing like that. This was just a proclamation. It's just them coming out and saying that they are against the city's past history as a sundown town, which, like I said, I haven't seen any indication of that at all throughout my lifetime, except for on the outskirts of St. Cloud, which isn't the city of St. Cloud proper. When you're referring to a sundown town, you're talking about Black people feeling, or minority people feeling, like they can't go out at night. I don't know, because I'm not a Black person, so I can't tell you how they felt back in the 80s or even the 90s. But I can tell you that I haven't seen that. I went to school with Black people. I have Black people in my family. I don't know. I would have to talk to them and see how they felt, but I don't think that they felt that way. I never saw any overt racism in St. Cloud to that effect, that we had to come out now and say that we're ashamed and we're doing this proclamation to let people know that we are for every resident. I think you can tell that now. I mean, you go to the Walmart and you can see that this is not a white town anymore. So I just don't get it. I think this was complete political theater. Seeing that they created a commercial for this proclamation and put that out, it takes the wind out of the sails. You know what I mean? If there was a law on the books that they were removing, then I could be completely behind this and be like, yes, that this is a great thing, because a law on the books that says that a minority or a Black person can't go out at night, that's screwed up. And yes, that needs to be removed immediately. But what this thing, I mean, I don't get it. And it's embarrassing to have that out there. Now it's in the media, now it's in the news, and people are talking about this. It's embarrassing to be talking about this.
Yeah. So, a couple of things that I think of about this, right? Like, I'm not offended by it. Honestly, I couldn't care less. I don't like the fact that the NAACP is the one who was asking for them to do this and whatever, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah,
Just
they were the drivers.
if you're a commissioner and Yeah, if you're a council member or a commissioner and you care about it, then do it, right? Unless you're a mindless twit that doesn't make their own decisions, you should be doing the things that you believe you should be doing on behalf of the community that elected you. But I will say this, wasn't there like some henchman that belonged to somebody, and I don't know names, but there was a henchman who was the part of the KKK who belonged, was the enforcer of somebody else who kind of was involved with the city council, right?
Yeah.
Just people in St. Cloud know what I'm talking about, right? And then somebody had made some kind of like, I go around. First of all, it's not that I've never been exposed to racism, right? I got fired at a job one time for speaking Spanish. This was in Florida, not in Osceola County. That was kind of surprising to me, but it's not like I don't sit at home at night crying in the corner over it, right? And then I, charge back, and I don't care if somebody was racist towards me. Like right now, if somebody said, you know what, you're Hispanic, you can't be here, you're fired, can't have that podcast, don't like whatever, blah, 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 because you're Hispanic, whatever. I still wouldn't care, to be honest with you. I just, I'm the type of person that my value is not established by what somebody else's biases come from them, right? Like somebody else's biases doesn't control my value for myself or my view of myself or anything, whatever. It's whatever. At the same time, I am very aware of things when there's something off. And I'll tell you that there's one person on that city council who said some things to me that were absolutely, in my mind at the time, thinking, man, is this some kind of racist thing? Like, that's like, they're telling me something, and they're sitting in there right now on that dais. And I was like, man, I'm not super sensitive to like racist remarks. I'm not sensitive at all to racist jokes. I'm not, but this guy is telling me something under hostile conditions, and it had a racist tinge to it. But he voted yes in that vote anyways, just so you know.
Yeah.
But so I'm just like, okay, whatever.
I'm just saying, John, that I'm not against this thing at all. You know what I mean? I'm like, it happened, okay.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't see why it was necessary.
Yeah, I was just about to say the same thing. I don't think our country at this time in 25 needs to be harping on this kind of stuff. That's what the Democrats have been for the last 4 years. Then they did that for 8 years under Obama. What I want to do is start talking about how I can decide for myself with my own free will how to take care of my family and how to raise my family and how to take care of my kids. And I don't care what your views on race or racism or anything else are. I don't give a crap. What I care about is me being able to live my life, raise my children the way that I want to without the interference of the government or anybody else, and have opportunities to establish my family name here under whatever conditions I'd like to do that. Yeah. So I agree. I think it's bad timing. And certainly this only happened because they're desperate to have a cause, because Democrats don't have any policy causes, right? So, that's what this is. It's Jennifer Paul showing that she doesn't have any other cause except the fact that she's Black, and she's going to let you know that at every single meeting. Okay, if that's worth your time. That's not why I, as a taxpayer, think I don't pay the taxes in St. Cloud. I don't live in St. Cloud. But if I were, that's not what I would want to pay $17,000 or $18,000 a year for a city councilman to do. Is to remind me what their race is, or their gender, or their sexual preferences. I do pay that for Cheryl Grebe to remind me every day that she's gay, right? And now she's even erecting a $150,000 statue to remind me that she's gay, right? And then she's going to also be reminding me how much she hates Christians by erecting that statue in the shape of a fish, so like that disrespect. So, I mean, I am already reminded about that. And simply, I just don't care. I don't care what race you are. I don't care where you come from. I don't care what language you speak. What I care about is that I can trust you to be a good neighbor, and you allow me to do the things that I want to do, and I'll be a good neighbor for you. And if there's a fire, I will help you put it out. You help me put it out, and be good, and let my kids be good, and so on. And I just don't care about anything else.
That's where I'm at. All right, John. So finally, the county is seeking federal funding to extend Cross Prairie Parkway.
Yeah.
Now, some people might be asking, where is Cross Prairie Parkway? Because you've never been on Cross Prairie Parkway. Well,
it's that giant pit. It's the giant pit right in central Osceola County. There's no bottom. It's like if you look down, it goes down for eternity. You can literally see the core of the earth when you look down where Cross Prairie is. It's called NEOcity. It's the pit of hell of endless funding.
Well, this is a good look at what they want to do right here, John. This is gives you an idea of what they want to do here. They want to extend it so that it connects to East Lake Toho. And you can see it right there. That's the proposed extension, the missing connector to connect it. And, yeah. Osceola County Commissioners jumped right into 2025 during their first meeting of the year Monday, approving a handful of profile lifting projects. The Cross Prairie Parkway extension, a road which would link the Tohoqua and Kindred neighborhoods to Clay Whaley Road and Kissimmee Park Road. Isn't that nice? As well as a new planned Florida Turnpike interchange at Nolte Road is closer to coming to fruition and getting the state and federal government to pay for portions of the $53 million project. The board approved a measure to apply for the U.S. Department of Transportation Rebuilding American Infrastructure with Sustainability and Equity grant, which would provide $25 million in federal funds for the road. If the county receives the federal award, it would have to provide matching funds, and county records show the entire project is funded in its 5-year plan, meaning federal funds would reduce its obligation. That is a crazy word there. Rebuilding American infrastructure with sustainability and equity.
And equity, I know. The funny thing is that the equity they're talking about is essentially giving money to the white people who owned all that land.
Yeah.
You know, to the families. They don't realize it, right? But there's like equity in transportation, but the transportation are going to the developers that are benefiting from that road building.
Oh.
It's not going to like neighbor. I don't think there's anybody of color that's going to be served by that road. So it's a joke. And it should be a joke because it's pure stupidity to build roads based on equity as opposed to build on infrastructural needs. But
this is coming from the Biden administration. So
yeah, they're the only one. I mean, they use equity, but then they give it to a whole bunch of rich white people. I mean, it's just a joke. It's stupid. It's just corruption. That's all it is. And that's what happens when you use identity politics to make policy. It's pure fake. This is more political theater. You know, it's just ridiculous.
And it's all 20 years too late. You look at these roads and the traffic that we're dealing with here. I'm sorry, I'm a little bit loopy from the medication I'm taking for my sickness here, but yeah, it's just crazy. It's just crazy. You know, the traffic that we deal with day in and day out. It gets worse every year. Poor planning, and now they're trying to make up for it. They're trying to create these roads, but these roads are for the new residents that are coming in. It's not for the existing people that are here. So,
yeah. And it's basically because these politicians are now probably feeling a little bit of heat. They moved all these people in. The people don't have roads to drive on. They have moved in, and nobody really knows. But all of these people are going to learn the name Booth and Arrington and Green, and they're going to start hating those names. And that's the problem. That these developers have gotten a hold of. They own these politicians. The politicians help these developers by doing all this stuff. They just enrich themselves. They're all taking a bath in money. And then all of a sudden they have so many people. The byproduct of them making money, right, is all these people are here now, and they're going to realize it takes 45 minutes for a fire truck to make it to your house 2 miles away. And that it'll be 3 hours before an ambulance can make it to your house if you have a heart attack. or your kid breaks their arm or whatever happens. And if they're gonna start to hate the name Arrington and Booth.
If there's an emergency evacuation out of this area, we're in big trouble.
We're all done.
Yeah, we're in
We're
big
all
trouble.
done. We're all done for.
Big trouble.
You might as well, go to like that little island in Lake Tahoe, because you have a better chance of swimming there through the gators than you do of getting out of this town in the mass, exit.
You could go hide out on Goat Island there. All right, John. Well,
Yeah,
that is
exactly.
it. That's all we have left for the show. The Florida show.
Awesome. Thank you for watching another episode of Unsanctioned Florida. We really appreciate you stopping by. We've had a huge number of people watching on all the different channels. We appreciate that very much. And it was the whole time. So we are ending at an hour and 30 minutes. We'll try to get a little bit faster and faster. Stay tuned. There's all kinds of stuff. We'll be shooting live tomorrow from the protest. We'll do some videos there too and put that content out, let you know, keep you aware of what's going on with those elections and everything else in the state of Florida. So thank you. God bless you. We love you. Continue to watch. Please like and share. Accept those invitations on Facebook. Make sure that you follow us on X, not on Twitter, but on X now. I am at John Unsanctioned. You see it there. And then you see at Citizen Tom Lord over there on the other side. So please join us and join in the conversations. If there's any stories that you want us to cover, let us know also. Thank you. God bless you. We will see you tomorrow. On my behalf, former school board member John Arguello, John Unsanctioned, and my great friend over here, Citizen Tom Lord. Thank you and have a great night.